Hi, James. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. First of all, can I give you my personal congratulations on the fantastic award you got last week? Tell us a little bit about the award and what is it in recognition of?
Thank you, Tony. Really appreciate it. Well, the organisation which I run was a finalist for the Training and Development Award because we run training and development programs to help people into the automotive industry after military service. So we're really proud to have been nominated, and to become a finalist was absolutely fantastic. It was won in a vintage year, I think, by the Army Foundation College, which, to be honest, I was delighted about, because I was a platoon commander at the Army Foundation College when it first opened in 1998. And 2020, of course, has been an extraordinary year for any number of reasons. And it's also the 10th anniversary of the Soldiering On Awards. So the patron, Earl Howe of the Soldiering On Awards, had a special recognition award, and it was really around coronavirus and the response of the veteran community sort of in stepping up towards coronavirus. And so I was singled out in order to be ritually humiliated as a flag waver, really, for some of those who got up and went and volunteered in support of the UK response to coronavirus.
Yeah, James, I know sort of what a humble person you are, and you will try and play it down, but I'm aware of the hard work you've done. And Mission Motorsports have been doing great work for about the last 6 years, in particular, though, during the COVID-19 crisis. And I know you played an important role helping to mobilise the veteran community to support the fight against COVID. Tell us a little bit more about that, if you would.
Well, I mean, of course, when we went into shutdown back in March, we were all kind of wondering exactly where it would take us. But as it became apparent that there was particular need in parts of the country for people to start to take responsibility, I think firstly was reassuring our beneficiary population that they had a part to play, and that they had an important role to play at home and in looking after each other. And their own families. But for those who had more capacity to do more for others, was to help them to find the way in which they could make an impact and help a wider community. And whether that was through NHS volunteering, you know, with the NHS app and the Responder app, to Spare Hand, which was doing fantastic things, helping connect volunteers up with volunteering opportunities of all different kinds, through to React, that sort of Team Rubicon, that mobilisation of veterans in support of various community initiatives and stuff that, you know, top line in assisting the NHS. And I know that you were inspired by that as well, Tony. So, you know, we had people out there doing all sorts of incredible things. And we very much sort of lent into going, you know, how can we inspire our population of beneficiaries and those who sort of look to us to go, look, these are positive steps you can take. But practically, for a charity that manages relationships into the automotive industry, it was, how can we also help our industry to be able to support too, and how they make a difference? So we deployed in the middle of lockdown a fleet of 9 Mazdas to the four corners of the country, all the way Devon, right out into the east, you know, almost up to the Scottish border, with cars going out who were enabling volunteers then to be able to run all sorts of things, from, you know, mortuaries that were being set up through to testing in care homes. And both Mazda were fantastic in supporting that, and then Jaguar Land Rover as well, leaning into what they were already doing on behalf of the Red Cross by pushing vehicles out in support of React.
Jaguar Land Rover, you mentioned them, and they were even looking at having mobile testing stations on their engineering and factory sites. Tremendous effort from them, really leaned into it, didn't they?
And that happened, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So done at the British Motor Museum, and coordinated through Steve Lees, that project manager looking after armed forces support into you know, Jaguar, but it was really good. And it was inspirational for us as well, where we reached out to our beneficiary audience to see what they came back with, to say this is what we're doing. And we had a young man called Darren Kamara, who was formerly Royal Air Force. He was wounded in service, medically discharged. Had come through a bunch of stuff which the charity had done, and we'd written a reference for him on the basis of work he'd done for the charity, which helped him secure a job with British Airways, and he was cabin crew. And of course, sat at home furloughed, he looked around and thought, well, what can I do? And started 3D printing. And he was the guy who started that incredible sort of Facebook groundswell of 3D printers who were all producing PPE, but not putting it into the hospitals. They were putting it into the local places that really need it. The GP surgeries, the care homes, the pharmacists who were struggling to access PPE when times were most difficult, suddenly found that they had local people who had their own 3D printers at home, had rallied together in order to kind of meet local need. And stuff like that's just inspirational. It's absolutely fantastic.
Great effort, isn't it, James? Motorsport also got an award from Defence Relationship Management, the Silver Employer Recognition Scheme Award, which I'm really pleased with, and look forward to you pushing on to your Gold Award next year, James. From a personal perspective, James, I know you recently swapped racing cars for ambulances to support the COVID-19. How did that come about, and what have you sort of gained from that, apart from driving very fast with a blue light?
Yeah, no, I wasn't allowed to do the blue light piece, but I did have a vehicle that had blue lights on it. So obviously I had to take that somewhere private and press the buttons to see how it all worked. I managed to resist the temptation to use it in traffic, but to be honest, there wasn't very much traffic during lockdown. It was extraordinary. Yeah, funnily enough, and of course I'm not the only racer who went out there and did stuff. I mean, I know professional racers who were out driving Amazon delivery vans, who were driving for Tesco, who were doing all sorts of bits and pieces. Logistic companies that we were working with, helping with the logistics of the Feed the NHS program that started through a donation made through Ron Dennis at McLaren. And the incredible Bicester Heritage, themselves actually due to sign the Armed Forces Covenant, who brought together, provided the real estate for a group of ex-pioneers around an inspirational guy called Billy Dilks, who was formerly RSM of the Pioneers of the Pioneer Corps, who in Bicester brought together a whole load of local people and military veterans to produce meals for the NHS. Wow. And it was a tanky, a guy who I served with called Ben Simmons, who runs a company now called Bear Arms, who do military support to film and TV work. And it was him who put me onto this, an app called Spare Hand, which was connecting need with willing volunteers, and ended up volunteering for the South Central Ambulance Service. It is wonderful to do things for other people, but oh my God, it felt so good to be, for my own mental health, to be able to be out there and kind of making a difference. And I think if you're wired in a certain way, and particularly if you've had that drilled and inculcated in you, those sense of values, that once you've stood up to serve, it is very natural to want to serve again. So
looking to the future, James, what do you think we, the Armed Forces community, can take away from the last 6 months? So we can look back perhaps with a bit of pride, and also look back on what lessons are learned and what we can do in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, the country has gone through extraordinary stress and duress over the course of 2020. But it's when things are difficult and it's when the chips are down that you find out who those people are who step forward and really take responsibility, who provide leadership, who give of themselves in order to be able to help others. And I was just incredibly proud to be part of that veteran community who answered that call and who provided such an incredible response when things became difficult across the UK. I think we should all look back on that with a lot of pride. Our veterans are a national resource. We have invested so much in them in terms of blood and treasure as a country. And if we allow them to be underemployed or unemployed, then we as a nation are letting ourselves down. And we owe it to each other to be able to help lift others up, to be able to help them to reach their potential. And I think that's very much on what we're focused in doing, and what it's fantastic seeing, you know, the Office of Veterans Affairs and a minister committed to making Britain the best country in the world to be a veteran. Now that's a proper rallying cry. So yeah, let's up and at it.
Well, thanks, James. And so once again, finally, on behalf of myself and Defence Relationship Management, congratulations on a well-deserved award. And to finish off, if people want to learn more about Mission Automotive, Mission Motorsport, where should they go?
So our websites, our Facebook page, our Twitter, it's all very easy to find. But if you go and have a look at missionmotorsport.org, and also missionautomotive.org as well, which is the initiative for the automotive industry to help them with armed forces engagement. And we've got exciting news on that as well coming out. We've been busy on the work side in the background too. New companies joining, some of them very exciting indeed, and new training initiatives too for those leaving the services and veterans.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for your time, James.
Thanks, Tony.